Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to get going here and hopefully learn some more about flexible spending accounts and the best way to use them. So I'm going to be going off a presentation given to me by PayFlex, who administers our flexible spending accounts, the healthcare, and the DependentCare account. So there's some good information in there. And then after, I'll take one of those, sure. All right, and then when I go through this presentation, if we have time, Laura Lagerhaus is going to go into some of her personal experiences with flexible spending accounts, and hopefully have some time for a question and answer period as well. So, as it says right there, we're going to go over flexible spending accounts. There's two types: the healthcare, a flexible spending account, and the DependentCare. There's some people that use the DependentCare. Now we don't have too many. But it's a good product if you have, children in daycare ages. Those prices really, those are very expensive to do. We'll go into how to use your account funds, tools and resources, and the PayFlex mobile app. Okay, what is a flexible spending account? What it is an account that lets you take money, comes out of your check pre-tax, and put into either the healthcare or the DependentCare flexible spending account. And is to pay for these services that either insurance normally would not, or cover the daycare expenses. PayFlex is our FSA administrator, and the great thing about it, you're really paying for these things with pre-tax income, so it lowers your taxable income a little bit. So it's a nice little little benefit there. And it says right there on the bottom too, you do not need to be enrolled in McHenry County College's medical plan or dental or vision plan to participate. Yeah, we have a few employees who do participate, even though if they're on, a medical health plan elsewhere. So here's a shot of the benefit in FSA. Some of these numbers aren't exact because the example they use, is based on 7.65. FICA, and we have the 8% for CSRS, coming out, and that tax bracket. So in this example, if your salary is, $30,000 and you contribute $1,500, to the healthcare side, you can save about $340, in taxes, which is a good thing. So that's just kind of a, good, just broad example of, what you can save if you do participate. But they do have a tool that does, which we'll get into a little bit later as well, that'll help you, figure out the savings and help you figure out election too, because that's really kind of the hardest part, is figuring out how much to put in there. That's what most people, including myself, struggle with. So, and it does that. It makes it easy to save for eligible healthcare expenses not covered by insurance. The 2017 limit is $2,600 on the health care, and from what I've read, it's probably not going to change for 2018. It's not official yet, but as of a couple days ago, they're estimating it's going to stay the same at $2,600. But hopefully, we'll know that here shortly. And the IRS sets the limits, and we just copy what they have. And another item too, it's good to know, if you and your spouse each have a healthcare FSA, you can each do that $2,600. So you can both do that. And there's no minimum contribution. You can put whatever amount between 0 and $2,600 that you like. And the great thing about the healthcare flexible spending account is that your entire election is available right away. So if on January 1st, big dental procedure needs to be done, or any big medical expense, that whole election amount is there right away, and it's there for you, even though you haven't had any of the contributions into the account yet. And as far as who's eligible to use it, it shows a your spouse, eligible dependent child, and tax dependent who's permanently totally disabled. On the dependent, I'll mention real quick too, on the dependent care, that one runs a little differently. The funds have to be in the account before you can request a reimbursement from it. So if you had a daycare bill for $1,000 and you've only contributed $500 to that point, the most they're going to reimburse you is the $500. And then once you put more money in the account, at that point, they'll finish off the request for the reimbursement. So, some common FSA expenses: medical and dental deductibles, copays, and coinsurance. So, all the amounts that you have to pay, the deductible before the plan picks up anything, the FSA is a great, tool for that. So you can, be reimbursed, right away when those expenses come off beginning of the year, so you're not, getting hit with as many, upfront costs. And even sometimes if you ever have to, if you don't have to pay at the time of service, I've had it where I had my reimbursement before I even had to pay the medical bill. By the time it runs through all the FSA and Blue Cross and the bill gets back to me. It really depends on how the doctor will bill it. Prescriptions, over-the-counter items, over-the-counter drugs and medicines. You do have to have a prescription for them to be eligible. Hospital expenses, eyeglasses, another great expense. If you're going to have glasses or contacts every year, or members of your family, it's a great expense to have that money put aside, all set to go. Contact lenses and signaling solution, hearing aids and batteries, orthopedic devices. There's a big list on the PayFlex website, which we can show you too. It's really more of a complete list, and it shows you which are eligible, not eligible. Yes.
For the over-the-counter drugs, are we talking like Aleve, things like that? You need a prescription?
I know it seems kind of silly to get a prescription for over-the-counter things, yeah.
Because sometimes, on the Walgreens receipt, it'll say FSA eligible.
Right.
And is that good enough?
For that particular one, yeah, if it says it's eligible, well, you would have to have the prescription for it from the doctor, though, is my understanding of it. I know it seems silly to get a prescription for over-the-counter, I know. Yeah, a couple years back, they made it more difficult for it to cut back on the eligible items over-the-counter. Sure. And I can show you, too, where to find this list. And you don't have to be a member to look at the list either.
It wouldn't be hard to get the prescription either. I mean, you went to your doctor because you had pain, and they gave you a prescription for pain medication and then said, eventually you can just take Advil. Say, could you give me a prescription for the Advil? Because I can get it reimbursed, so.
Got it. Thank you.
And here's some information about the DependentCare FSA. A great way to save funds for your child and adult care expenses. The IRS limit set at $5,000 there, so that's what we match. But this one also runs differently than the health care, where if you and your spouse each have a dependent care, you're still only able to do the $5,000 total on the daycare. Eligible expenses are used for eligible dependents under age 13 or a spouse or dependent unable to take care of themselves. And then there's also the rule on to use the funds, you must be working. If you're married, spouse must either be working, looking for work, full-time student, or unable to take care of themselves. And there it mentions too, funds become available as they're deducted from your paycheck and deposited in your account. So, it's only reimburse what's been put in. And some common expenses there: child and adult daycare, in-home provider, which you copy someone you claim as a tax dependent or your child under 19, summer camps, tuition through preschool, and before and after school care. And once again, there's a large list on the PayFlex website as well. Okay, so FSA contributions and using your funds. So there is one of the big drawbacks about it. It's the use it or lose it, scary rule that makes people not want to participate and 100% get it. I don't want to overshoot either. But there is a good feature to our plan where we have a grace period where you have until March 15th to use any of the funds that you've elected. So anything you elected here in 2017, you really have until March 15th of 2018 to incur costs and use up your election for this year. And then you have March 31st to file a reimbursement for it. And if you do participate for 2018, it would use up all of your election of 2017 first before it got into the 2018 election. So it would use up anything existing before getting into the next year's election. And you can change your contribution mid-year, through a change in status. If you get married, tax dependents, employment, so if your spouse is on another plan, they lose their coverage, and come onto this plan, you can adjust it. Or if you have a child, those kind of things, you can increase your election amount mid-year. And then for DependentCare, change in provider, for the services, and if there's a jump in the cost too, you can adjust your election as long as you stay under the limit. And there's a good hint at the bottom. To help plan your account contribution, think about your eligible expenses you had last year and this year, and what you think you're going to have in expenses next year. So, if you had some costs in 2017 that probably maybe just taking care of a one-time thing, you might be able to just leave that out of your planning for 2018. But if something comes up, a condition where you're going to have ongoing treatment and those costs, that's a good kind of guide to help you figure out what a good election amount is going to be. Then how to use the funds. If you pay for those services, you can pay yourself back by submitting a claim online, using the app, or filling out a paper claim. The app works pretty well. I've used it a couple times myself. As you're using it, you can file a claim right through there. It asks for access to your camera, your phone. You can just snap a picture of the receipt and then put in the amount too, and it can file a claim for you, which is nice. And then a couple little tips they give you: download a printed claim form from the account website, from the PayFlex website, and having the EOB, is something like to see, just to show proof of your portion of what you spent. And you can enroll in direct deposit too, just so the deposits come just right into your checking or savings account, and that can be done at any time. If you don't have that set up when you first enroll, you can go online and do that at any point. And that is not something you need to update every year, only if it changes. Okay, how does it work? If you roll in the healthcare flexible spending account, and it can be set up with Autopay, which is a nice little feature. In some of the paperwork, you might also seen it labeled as crossover. It's the same thing. What it really does, it files a claim for a reimbursement for you automatically on items that go through insurance. It saves you a little bit of work and paperwork and filling out forms and things, so, which is a good thing. So you go to your doctor's office, pharmacy, get your prescription, receive your service, or for any of the eligible expenses. Provider sends in the claim to insurance carrier, whether it's Blue Cross or VSP, because VSP is set up for this as well. Carrier pays the amount their insurance covers, and the carrier lets how much you need pay for the claim, and then goes right to PayFlex, and they process it and reimburse you back. So it's a nice, quick little thing. It saves you just some work for doing paperwork. All right. The time you cannot use Autopay, though, is if it does not go through insurance. So on that, you can file a claim from the website on the online. That pay them, that's not an option under our plan. You're not able to pay your provider directly, from the FSA, but you just have to file for reimbursement normally.
What's an expense that wouldn't go through insurance?
Let's see, something like a hearing aid sometimes wouldn't be covered if you're not on the medical plan at all, and you had some eligible expenses. The Autopay wouldn't be going through insurance, so we wouldn't know to file a claim for reimbursement automatically. So those are the most common. Most common is if you're not on the plan at all. Yeah.
Vision expenses.
Yeah.
Those
Is that not going through correctly?
No.
Okay.
Have to.
That's supposed to be. They said they had that set up. So
Oh,
they did.
Okay.
So I'll get on and make sure it's good we'll get that fixed. Yeah.
So, I didn't know that my husband could do also the flexible spending. Because he doesn't have insurance there, because I have the insurance. So I do the pay flex here.
Mhm.
So he would not do that, because that wouldn't work out, right? So
Well, he
would do
wouldn't-
this online tool, do you think?
Run that one by me again. So he's not, he's not on our plan?
He's not on
He's-
our plan.
he's on his
so
own.
He has the option to get that at his work.
Okay.
If that's what you just said earlier.
Yeah, yeah, you don't have to be-
$5,000 combined.
You each, for the healthcare, you could each do 2,600 as long as he had a FSA available, a FSA available to him through his work.
Okay.
So it's, yeah, as a married couple, you're each able to do 2,600. Well, or whatever his work allows.
Okay.
So he wouldn't be joining our plan. I know.
No, it's
Yeah.
his work, you could do it.
Exactly.
Because I'm on the pay flex,
Mhm.
so my bills automatically get paid. I don't have to
Right.
submit anything.
Right. Anything for
But that would
him.
be confusing if we both had the flexible spending accounts, and then what if they were trying to submit like the same claim under both pay flexes? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
as long as they kept
I would
him.
set up the pay flex with his plan. I would just have that with mine and do like the online.
You might have a different company.
Yeah, I'm not sure who administers your husband's.
Spending too. You might
So-
have a different company.
Yeah, because his would be under a different plan number. Ours is specifically with MCC has its own account, so his would be in account under his work. So everything he had would just be filed through that one, unless I'm not answering your question.
No.
I'm not?
Well,
Okay.
I could talk to you.
Okay, we'll get it, we'll touch
Okay.
base back on that one. Okay, as far as getting started. On the member website, before you enroll, you can go on the website and take a look at anything without being a member. The education materials, planning tools, there's some forms, videos. You can take a look at that list of their list of eligible expenses, savings calculator, estimate your expenses and plan your contributions. They have a little electronic tool. They have a little Pete the Pig they came up with this year, and just to ask you a bunch of questions and helps you figure out what a good be, as well as what the tax savings would be, frequently asked questions, and a digital library of just information. And then once you are a member, give you your account balance, submit claims, enroll in direct deposit, take a look at payments and claim history, print those forms, educational materials, get electronic notifications when those things are processed, and see some updates and news as well. And then it mentions their videos. There's some on there. You have to be careful when you're looking at those, because sometimes they'll put in a little sentence or two where some of it doesn't apply to our plan. They're more general FSA videos, not specifically for us. And here's that little Pete the Pig guy I mentioned up there. Just a little cartoon video that helps you make your election. And here it mentions the mobile app, which I was talking a little bit about earlier. You can download that. You can manage your account funds, submit the documentation. Like I mentioned, you'll just ask for access to your camera, so you can take a picture of receipts and submit them. And you can access that eligible expense item list. And it's the same username as password as the member website. And there they are. They're there to help, and that's their contact information if you're a member and need anything. And I can show you real quick too. This is what the website looks like. So yeah, so just their main member, website. If you can sign in right here if you are a member. But if you just wanted to learn about, pre-tax savings, there's this little section here. Ignore these guys because we don't have an HSA or a HRA. Those are different programs. But so I can save videos, tools. There's that eligible expense list. And you can see there eligible healthcare expenses, eligible dependent care expenses. And just click there and scroll down. And it'll tell you whether they're eligible, ineligible, over-the-counter medicine drug that requires prescription, or something that needs a letter of medical necessity. Sometimes you see a lot of supplements and things like that that a doctor wants you to take, but they just need that letter to prove it. This is extra supporting documentation. You know.
So if your doctor tells you you need to take vitamin D, you can get a letter of
Yeah.
medical necessity, and then they'll reimburse you for vitamin D.
Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, so you can just scroll. It's done alphabetically. So if there's something specific you're looking for, you can just go right there. All right. Anybody have any questions? Laura.
What about a debit card?
We don't have that. We were taking a look at it a little bit last year. There's a cost to it for one, but when you have the auto pay and that, it goofs up PayFlex's systems, and sometimes there'd be, double payments, so they really wouldn't let us have both. I know those things are handy. I've had one in the past too. It's kind of nice. Yeah.
You said that the vision care was, or the VSP was hooked up to the auto pay?
Supposed to be. Sounds like it's not working
Is
as
the
well as it
dental?
should. It is.
The dental is.
Right.
Okay.
But that's the thing with the auto pay too. If you're set up on it, you're still best off taking a look and keeping an eye on making sure everything goes correctly. I know some people don't like the auto pay just because the election's in there for either classes or whatever procedure or whatever they want it in there for, and they can keep a better track on exact amounts, which is understandable too. Any other questions? Okay.
So $2,600 a year is the max?
Yes.
Even if I'm covering my husband as well on my policy?
Yes. You could only elect 2,600, but if he has FSA on his own, he can also do it to 2,600. I think that might kind of in line with what you're asking, but
That's
we'll
where I was
talk.
going with that,
Yeah.
because now I'm on the auto pay.
Right.
So when I have a charge against my insurance, it auto pays it. I really
Mhm.
like it. It worked out well for me. But I probably will have an expense down the road.
Yeah.
That I would like to have us both have $2,600 so that I can get my hearing aids,
Right.
So, but he can't go on the auto pay because then maybe because he also has Blue Cross Blue Shield,
Mhm.
but we carry the insurance here.
Yeah, but you would not be able to have 2,600 times 2 on your election.
No,
He would
he
have to
can't.
do his
With his company.
and he would have to
But
run it through
I would
his.
not do the auto pay probably with his company under my insurance, because then they could be paying
Right.
the same bill twice, is what I'm trying to say.
Because if he's on your plan and you have the auto pay, you could end up using a lot of your election with his expenses. Might be something to take. Yeah, I think that's kind of what some of your concern is too. But yeah, we can definitely go into that one some more. Sure.
Like whispering.
Am I?
Hear you.
Well, but talking for a while, my throat gets a little dry, so. There. All right, any other questions? All right, we have a few minutes left. Laura, did you want to kind of go into your personal experience with FSAs for a couple of minutes?
Should I stand up there? Or?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
It seems only fair. Yeah, but if anybody has any other questions on it, anything I can do, we can just give me a call and we can sit down and go over anything you like.
If anybody's new to PayFlex, I know it's a little scary to start it to know the workings of it, but Kevin did an excellent job going over all the points. But what I like about it is, and I've been enrolled in it for several years now, it's a savings account. That's how I look at it. You have your annual election, and it's deducted from your paycheck for 26 pay periods. So say, for instance, you have an upfront cost in January or February. Say you're going to have a test that costs $700. And you're on the PPO plan, and now we have a $500 deductible. Well, if you weren't on PayFlex, you would have to pay that $500 deductible out of pocket right away. And with PayFlex, they will reimburse you for that $500 if you put that in your annual election, and $19.23 will come out of your paycheck throughout the year. So it's something that's not an upfront cost to you that you have to write out of your checkbook or make a credit card charge. It's being deducted from your paycheck. So that's one thing that I really, really like about it. Planning for it, if you're new to PayFlex, I would underestimate your expenses because, like Kevin was saying, if you don't use it, you lose it, although that grace period is a really nice benefit.
It is, but
that
there's
the
still some
college-
people that have, lost $1,000 before, I've seen, so it's.
Go get glasses. Go buy glasses if you have.
There you go,
Right, you
yeah,
have to.
yeah, go buy
Right.
find some things around.
Right. And of course, you don't want to waste money just to spend PayFlex, so my advice would be to kind of underestimate it. I would look at what you've spent this year already. I know it takes time to sit down and go through all your bills and everything, but it's worth it. I think it's worth it. Just list out all your expenses, whether you have deductibles for your health insurance, your dental insurance. We have a $100 deductible on that. For vision, like in January, I got new glasses after 7 years. I needed new glasses. And I know the eye exam is covered, but there's also an exam that they take a photo of your eyes. That's not covered by our insurance, and that was $30 at my vision guy. So I have a family of 3, so that's $90 off the bat. So I wrote down $90. And then I just kept adding, co-pays. We each see the doctor maybe once a year, so that's $60 there. And prescriptions, if you're gonna need prescriptions, or say you went to the dentist and you're gonna need a filling, figure out the cost, the out-of-pocket cost for that. And just make a list of what you've done this year and kind of try to forecast for next year. And that's how I figured out what my annual election would be for the year. You can't plan for emergencies. That's the only bad thing is you can only pretty much plan for what you expect to pay out. So that's been my experience with it. Just make sure you look at your PayFlex account. I know this was coming up today and I'm like, gosh, it's been several months since I've looked at my PayFlex account. Keep monitoring it, whether it be once a quarter, and kind of monitor what's going in and out. I'm on the HMO plan, and I just found out that I can't get my EOBs from Blue Cross Blue Shield. I have to get it from the medical provider that we're with. I'm with Mercy, my husband's with Advocate, and getting all that paperwork has been a little bit of a hassle, but you have to file that separately. Blue Cross Blue Shield won't do that, so that's the only exception is the HMO. For the PPO and the standard, everything is done through Blue Cross Blue Shield. So any questions? Yes, Karen?
Just so I'm clear, like when you said the flexible spending account takes care of deductibles too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to do anything to make sure that it takes care of the deductibles, or that's just going to be a part of?
Well, if you sign up for the Autopay, once that claim runs through Blue Cross, they send it to PayFlex to get processed. So the money that you had to pay for whatever service you had, that's part of your deductible. That would be the eligible expense.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions for? Yes, Laura?
So I did $1,000 last year. So when I see, and I did auto pay. So when I see that $1,000 has been automatically deposited into my account, is there any reason to monitor anymore? Even though I would still continue to go to the doctors after that? No, there really isn't.
Oh, your
It's a good
annual
idea to
election.
monitor, but you'll just see a list of claims that were denied by PayFlex.
That were denied. Okay, okay.
They would just be denied based on the fact that you hit your election for the year.
And it's only a date of service, correct? It doesn't have any explanation?
Well, they go by service date,
Mhm.
when they're doing, the reimbursements, processing those.
So were you saying, Laura, that your annual election was $1,000 and then you paid your 2 deductibles up front? Is it?
Well, I think they were used for glasses or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, so you used your entire election right away, is what you're saying?
within the
So-
first 6 months,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, if you were to log on the website, it would just show, how much you put in, how much you've used, how much is still eligible, you see, 0 on.
So it's important to go on the website.
Just to make sure it's run correctly.
Right. And it's tax-free too. The great thing is it's a tax-free deduction, so it's, especially if you do have a large amount, $2,600 times 2, it's a considerable savings. It's just getting started and monitoring it and planning and a great benefit.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
If you choose the auto pay, does that mean if you, go get a crown and it's $600 that you don't have to pay that $600, you don't have to write the check to the dentist?
Depends on your dentist.
Depends on the dentist.
Okay.
Whether they want it up.
Right, sometimes they'll run it through the insurance, and you'll end up getting a bill afterward for how much you owe.
Okay.
Some dentists will want you to pay right there. It really depends on.
Okay, so it totally depends on the provider. Okay. All right, cool. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, feel free to contact me.
Don't forget to sign in, please.